Okay, boys, it looks like we did it. We finally hit level 100 in hardcore. One of the first 1,000 people to do so. Probably like one of the first 200 or 300 people to do so. And that is even after dying twice. We died once at level 64, once at level 72. Both of those deaths were big oopsie daisies on my part. And yeah, somehow still managed to pull it off. So very, very happy with that. And a huge thank you to everybody who came by the live streams, supported the streams, and sort of cheered me on as I as I struggled to level my third barbarian. It was getting hard at the end, but man, yeah, you guys were awesome. Thank you so much. And today I'm going to be covering the build that I've been using in the late game. And this is a bit of an advanced build. If you're looking for like a leveling build or something for earlier levels, I will be making that very soon. And it will be very detailed. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to hit that, to catch that. And also, you'll also be notified when my streams go live. Because I stream here on YouTube, not on Twitch or Kick or anything like that. I stream here. So if you want to come by and ask your questions, make sure you're subscribed and you'll see when I go live. But it's on, you know, it's on the day, so it's on the daily, so you will see them. It's not a problem. But we're going to go through this really quickly, assuming that you have a, you know, pretty good understanding of, you know, how the barbarian works. How do you open the skill tree? Here we go. Here's me trying to do a guide. I don't know the key bindings. So we're going battle lunging. We're going furious whirlwind. There will be a link to the full build thing down in the description as well if you want to check that out. But it's important you know why we've gone with some of these, because you need to play this build a certain way in order to make it work. Imposing presence. We have tactical rallying cry, tactical challenging shout, power cry, booming voice. We also have no mercy, pit fighter, hamstring, massively important. Don't skip this. Make sure you have hamstring. Thick skin, defensive stance. If you're a soft core player, you can go for counter offensive. You won't need so much damage reduction as me. And then you're going to go for Wrath the Berserker. And then you're going to go for Unbridled Rage. And you can see this is a Bleed Whirlwind Barbarian with a strong emphasis on resource regeneration, which you'll also see in our gear as well. We'll do the Paragon last, by the way. Helmet, nice and easy. Cooldown reduction, max life, total armor, and dexterity. You can go for all stat or willpower depending on like your Paragon board. We'll talk a bit more about that. Rage of Haragath. This is insane for cooldown reduction, which is the most important part of this build if you were to ask me. And just has really nice stats on it in general. But yeah, getting that cooldown reduction from bleeding elite enemies is massive. Gore's devastating grips, probably like the biggest DPS boost for Whirlwind, gives you that nice explosion at the end of your channel. Also, the lucky hit chance on this gives us a lot of benefits too. And Temerity is the reason that we've gone for a lot of max health. You can see this like health in all my sockets and in my passives there. Reason being, when we overheal, so we can pop healing potions or we can just heal from hitting enemies, we will generate a barrier of up to 60, well actually up to 80% of our max health. Mine rolled a 60. I'm looking for a better one. For boots, we're going to go for triple movement speed. So movement on dodge, movement speed base, movement on killing an elite. You're not going to get a lot of other chances to pick movement speed. So getting this is fantastic. It's important for us to get from pack to pack as fast as possible and maintain our damage output. I've gone for dexterity again. And also very, very important to have fury cost reduction on this one as much as humanly possible. Now for weapons, the bludgeoning, and I should mention, as far as imprints go, let me go back, let me wind back a little bit. For hardcore, I've gone for eluding. This is a sort of death save. If we are CC'd and go below 35% health, we break the CC and it can allow us to save ourselves or TP out. And for the helmet, I've gone for the grasping whirlwind there, and the rest of them are obviously unique, so you can't do anything with those. Bludgeoning weapon, dire whirlwind imprint on this one, max roll, huge crit rating. We need a lot of crit for fury regeneration, and you'll see why in just a bit. Vulnerable crit, core, and damage on this one, fantastic, though crowd controlled, bleeding, and slowed are also very good picks as well. But I find that these four are much more optimal because you can't crowd control or slow a boss very easily. You know, whether what this weapon DPS is doesn't matter. That's just the stats on this one that's important, and we've gone for green sockets, so that's crit strike on vulnerable enemies. Again, you can go for purples, which is blues, which gives you crit on crowd control, but again, not applying to bosses as much. And for your two one-handers, make sure these are swords for the implicit of critical strike damage, which is the top stat at the, you know, the one at the top there. I can't hover over it, but it's this one here. You want to get loads of that. Again, same modifiers apply. You can see I wasn't quite able to god roll these ones, so I've got slow, crit, close, and core. Again, I would have preferred instead of slowed, vulnerable. For the imprint on this one, we have expectant. So where we can, we're going to try and hit an enemy 3 times before whirlwinding. Don't kill yourself trying to get this one. You can survive about the 30% increased damage, but it's good when you can get it. And then for the next weapon, again, you can see I've actually got all stats on this one, which has ended up being really valuable for me for the Paragon board. So don't be afraid if you roll one with like strength, dex, willpower, whatever it is, you can still make very good use of that. And for the imprint on this one, we have gone for conceited, because we're able to maintain a 100% uptime on barrier. So that's 25% damage increase we have all the time. For the necklace, I'm still playing around with this one, but fury cost reduction, cooldown reductions are must-haves. Must-haves, absolutely. For the next two utilities are fine. Like if you want to get movement speed and a damage reduction, or 2 damage reductions, that works fine. So you can get movement speed on kill instead. You can get flat armor, flat damage reduction, damage versus distant or close. Anything like that will work fine on there. And we have Edge Master on this one, which gives us, again, just another very accessible boost to our DPS, about 30%. Bold Chieftain's Loop. Bold Chieftain's aspect is humongous for us, so you want to try and get this one as early as possible, actually, if you're going to play Whirlwind. Reduces the cooldown of your shouts by up to 6 seconds, depending on how many enemies are around you. 4 stats on the rings. Ideally, crit damage, crit chance, resource regeneration, and max life for hardcore. If you're softcore, you can probably put another damage modifier on there instead of max life, or maybe just have max life on one ring. And that's just for both rings. You want the same stats, really. I've tried. I've just not got crit damage on both of them. I've got close damage on both of them instead. But, you know, tomato, tomato. And for this one, you want the Echoing Fury aspect. This is going to allow you to generate a butt ton of fury while your shouts are up, which is hopefully most of the time with all the cooldown reduction. Final weapon, again, must be a sword if you want to get the most DPS out of it. Crit, vulnerable, bleeding, and close. You can see that they're all the same stat priority on all of these, except for this weapon. You want to try and get as high weapon DPS as humanly possible without sacrificing too much on the stats. I got pretty lucky. This is an amazing sword, so I'm very, very happy with this. But if you have to sacrifice one stat for like much higher weapon DPS, then go ahead and do that. Weapon DPS is very, very important. And after that, what was the imprint? We have Limitless Rage. Again, you know, we're going to be at full rage most of the time, especially between packs. So you snapshot that extra damage, and you're good to go. Your Whirlwind will be absolutely mowing down enemies. And then we're going to move on to Expertise. I'm going to quickly show you this. Two-handed axe expertise is what we want. More crit chance against vulnerable, more damage against vulnerable, and of course, we are using a sword for the bleed as well. We apply a lot of bleeding with this build. Now, quickly going for the Paragon. I'm not going to go over everything. I'm just going to go over the glyphs. Again, there will be a build like calculator thing down in the description, so you can follow along at home at your own leisure. But the full level 100 Paragon board will look like this, and the leveling one is different. Again, guide coming for that soon. Glyphs, territorial, massive increased damage to close enemies and damage reduction. That's very, very important. Hunter Killer, 32% damage to elites plus movement speed, especially for us as well. When Barbarians, this is going to be a huge increase to our effectiveness in dungeons. And then Martial is huge. One of the first, actually, glyphs that you should get. It gives you even more cooldown reduction for your shouts. And then over here, we've gone for Wrath, which is Fury back on crit, and is the main reason we're so infested in crit, because it's going to give us a massive amount of Fury back for whirlwinding into big groups. And of course, you know, the crit damage increase doesn't hurt there either. The Fury on kill nodes over here are fantastic. And then, of course, Warbringer is our main source, if not our only source of Fortify in the late game. Fortifies very, very, very quickly with this. And yeah, I mean, it's excellent. That's 16% additional damage reduction while fortified. So we're making a lot of use out of that for sure. Next node is Imbiber. And the reason we've got Imbiber is twofold. First of all, damage while healthy increased by 106%. Like, what? That is insane. And because we're constantly fortified and barriered, we're always healthy. Unless, you know, we're in a bit of a problem, a sticky situation. Maybe we're not. But for the most part, we're always going to be healthy, so we always have this bonus. And then the 30% potion increase on healing increase is so big for us. Like with the temerity pants increase to healing as well, you have like over 50% healing increase on your potions. Like your potions at max level will heal you for like 60% of your HP per one potion. Mental, absolutely mental. Up here we've gone for some vulnerable damage. Next glyph is exploit. This is a staple in a lot of builds. Your first attack on an enemy will vulnerable them for 3 seconds with some extra vulnerable damage as well. This is the reason that I tell a lot of people not to open on bosses with lunging strikes. You can use one to dash to the boss, but don't try and get all 3 on the boss. If you don't have the stacks, you just don't have the stacks, because you'll lose your exploit window, which will be a massive DPS drop. A lot of crit damage on our way up to the final board. And then our final glyph is Disembowel, which again is more cooldown reduction for killing bleeding enemies and more damage over time. So again, you can see we've gone for a lot of cooldown reduction, and there's a lot of damage reduction for close enemies over here as well. All of this just synergizes extremely well. I mean, I think you guys can see why this all works together so nicely. It's why a lot of people have come up with very similar builds to this one. As a matter of fact, this Paragon tree is like a near copy of like basically every Barbarian build is basically this tree. It's kind of just been, you know, solved as the best one. So, you know, you can flex into other builds with this tree quite easily. And if not, you know, at least with minimal changes, which is fantastic. But that is the build. I will be playing some gameplay over the back here just to show you it in action at level 100 while I just kind of sign off the video. And yeah, I just want to give you all, I want to thank you all, not give you all, I mean give you a thank. But yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you find this build useful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments, or jump into the live stream, which will be, you know, every single day from now on. And you can ask there and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you don't want to miss those, if you don't want to miss my other guides, you know, other Barbarian guides, any challenges that I do, you know, I'm going to be going for the pinnacle challenges, PvP and stuff like that. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. You know, help us out, send it off to the algorithm gods for praise. But yeah, that's it. Try not to die in hardcore, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.